welcome to another community conversation. My name is Laureen Pryor, and I will be your moderator for this evening. And on behalf of BSBA, we want to welcome you in for this important conversation. I have brought my pastor friends back for a conversation, and I know that originally we were going to talk about Trump deeming the church as essential and what that meant for them. However, with what's going on in the community, we don't want to sound tone deaf and not address that. So we're going to do the remix our own special way and figure out how we can get through this time together. So without further ado, let's get to our guests. We're going to bring up Pastor Cortland Younger. Introduce yourself, tell them where you're located, and just say hello to the people.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Pastor Younger from Gospel Center Church of God in Christ, right here in Sacramento, on Woodbine and off of Florin Road. And we appreciate the opportunity to be on here again with everyone.
Well, welcome back. We appreciate you taking the time out to connect with us again. Let's go to Elder Macklin out of the Bay Area. Elder Macklin, please introduce yourself, sir. And you're on mute, so take yourself off mute.
Elder Aaron Macklin here, Hayward, California, serving at Glad Tidings International under Bishop Macklin, my father. Here, doing what we got to do, speaking up, not being quiet.
Amen. You know, I had to say an amen to that because it's about time that we start speaking up just a lot more. Let's go to Pastor Jarenheim Sr. Welcome to the party.
Thank you, Pastor Jarenheim Sr., Greater Emmanuel Church, known as GIC, Sacramento, California. Just here to do the work of the Lord, both inside and outside of the church.
Well, thank you for being here. We totally appreciate you taking the time out to join us. Pastor Damian Chandler is in the building. Say hello to the people. Introduce yourself and your church, please.
Hey, my name is Damian Chandler. Happy to be here with you. I don't know if there's Capital City Seventh-day Adventist Church on 6701 Lemon Hill Avenue. And like you, I am tired. I am tired and I'm frustrated. So that's why I'm here.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate your participation tonight. And last but not least, I tell you, he's my brother from another mother. We are twins. He just don't know it yet. Please welcome Pastor Yardley Griffin. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me back. My name is Yardley Griffin Jr. I'm a lead and senior pastor at Destiny the Experience Church here in the city of Sacramento. And I'm grateful to be back, and I'm ready to talk about some stuff.
Perfect. Well, we're glad you are all here. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right on into it. So as a woman who's married to a Black man, a Black father, as someone who has numerous men surrounding me at all times, this issue or this situation with Mr. George Floyd hit me a little bit different. And so I want to talk to you all about, can you kind of give us some context? Because what I really realize is no matter how many things I go through as a Black woman, I will never know the gravity of what it's like to be a Black man. So if you could kind of just talk to me about, one, your first impressions of what you saw, and then kind of tell us personally how you connected with that, and how it has you feeling, because I just want to do a quick check-in. So let's start with Pastor Chandler. Let's go to you.
I don't know if you should have started with me. I think every time we experience something like this in our community, it leaves a residual fatigue. It's hard to see other communities able to just move on when we are laying in bed at night and having dreams about this stuff. It's hard to explain it to your kids again. It just leaves you tired. I was at the supermarket the other day and I saw an American man walking out of the supermarket with his fist just balled up like this. He was walking with fists like this. Nobody walks with fists like this. His face was forlorn, his shoulders were rolling, and I did not have to ask him what was on his mind. I knew it. Now, the other shoppers, there were no other African-American shoppers there, and they were just living their life, just buying bread and picking up hot dogs. But for me and him in that store, it was a very difficult day. So I feel the weight of that for my community, and I feel it personally. And right now, I don't really know exactly what to do with it all.
I think that a lot of us don't know what to do with it, and that's why we're going to lean heavily on our faith community. Pastor Yardley, can you talk to us about, you know, your initial impressions and kind of what it's like to exist in a Black body as a male? Pastor Yardley? You.
It's kind of breaking up on my end a little bit, so I'm trying to change some things over here. But I'll just go ahead and talk and do the best I can. Hope you guys can hear me. For me, I'm very frustrated. I'm very bothered. I'm very irritated because these things, they don't have to happen, and they should not happen. I believe the problem is it's Dr. Lerone Bennett said it's never been a Black problem or Negro problem in the United States. It's a white problem, and I hope, you know, I guess I'll offend people tonight, but I'll be okay, because it's not us. It's not us. It's not us, and so I'm trying to grapple with the fact that we always have the conversation over and over again. We're always talking about it over and over again. We're always having forums over and over again. But it's not us. We have to have the conversations with our boys about not going outside at night and not and driving at night and being in groups. But they don't have to have no one else has to have that conversation. And just to know that we're still there, and here it is again, that someone who wasn't doing anything is gone. It's just so very frustrating, and I don't know, you know, and I'm different from other people, and so I don't fight the protest. If you protest, you protest. If you don't protest. But everyone has their own platform to do what they have to do. But this conversation that we continue to have, I feel like cussing. I'm tired of having this conversation. I'm tired of we always having to come up with things that we need to do to shield ourselves from people that we shouldn't shield ourselves from. And it's time for us to stop always having to have these unique conversations about how we should present ourselves when we're not killing us. They're killing us. They're the ones on TV killing us. They're the ones we don't have a gun and we're suffocated and we can't wear hoods and things like that. And so okay, who's next? We can move.
Pastor Jaron.
Well, you know, I have not always, although my father raised me in the church, I have not always been saved. And so there was a time in my life when I spent time doing the wrong thing, and I lived in jail half of the year, and you know I was a vacationing on the outside, and so I've seen lots of this injustice not only in Del Paso Heights area where I grew up, but also inside of jail. See, sometimes that's the other part of that's the other conversation that's never had. It's what's going on inside where they're basically helpless. All the inmates are helpless. And so you see these types of situations happening in there. And who are you going to tell? You know, the police are the ones that's running the jail. So there's no way to tell. So people are always, these things are always happening. And so I felt disturbed when I saw the video, but I hate to say this, but I've seen stuff like this before in the neighborhoods that I've grown up in. And I just think that at some point justice has to be served. And I think, you know, and I hate to be the one, but I'm going to go ahead and bring the Lord into this. But, you know, I think that the Lord is exposing things at this time, and he's going to put things into perspective. And I think that, you know, those of us that are believers, you know, to continue, this is the time when we need to pray and we need to come together and we need to band together as one and allow, you know, people to express themselves, but also to help them to to be able to heal from certain things. And, you know, if we stay together, we'll be able to overcome these things. That's what I think.
Elder Macklin?
I went off on, I think it was Facebook yesterday, because this is not the first time we have been dealt an injustice. This is also not the first time where we have, I would say, celebrated too early. The murderer of Trayvon Martin was also arrested eventually. The murderer who walked into the church and shot up the AME church was arrested as well. It doesn't stop there. I've seen all these posts that said he was arrested, he was arrested. That has not proven to solve anything for us. Bad people get arrested all the time. But when we are consistently, the hands of justice are taken from us, when there is a president who says, I understand they've been doing bad things, but I'm going to get them out. We're not even allowed a fair fight. Justice is only justice when it's dealt in their hand. But when it's us, we don't ever really get to see real justice. So my heart hurts. My heart hurts because it's difficult to preach to Black men. It's difficult to preach to sons. It's difficult to preach to brothers. And I don't have a son, but I know God will prayerfully allow us to have one as we're, looking to have more children. But after watching what I watched a couple of days ago, my heart hurt because at this point, I really don't necessarily want a son in this hour, because there are just so many ways that him being Black already sells him short, period. And we moved from Hayward to another city, much lighter pigmentation in the city where we live now, just a few minutes away from the church. And it's sad because even in the grocery store a week ago, I was being followed, and I consider myself a clean cut. I know how to speak well. I don't consider myself intimidated.
Well,
but just because I was a Black man shopping, I was a threat. Getting food for my Black family, I was a threat. Driving a car, I was a threat. And my future son, who will be a son, will be a threat because of who and what he is. So it's difficult. My heart hurts, and I'm tired of powerless Facebook posts from people who will say something but will never do anything. So I'm frustrated. So, Pastor Jerome, I'm with you. You know, I don't want to bring God into it, but He's here. And this is a moment where if you are silent, you are just as bad as the murderers who watched him with the knee on his head. Silence is not going to help us in this hour. It's just not. So I'm.
Thank you for sharing that, Pastor Cortland.
If I can, I'm gonna just start off by just saying I am upset. I'm mad. I am what my environment has pushed me to be. It has pushed me to be upset to the point where today, and I've been texting my cousin right now, and I had to literally today get on a Zoom meeting with my church and just cry to prepare to be on here tonight. I had to cry. I had to put it out there that I am hurting as a Black man. It is hard for me to continue to try to be strong for a society that continues to put me at a lesser level. It's hard for me to be strong at times. And so I had to show a vulnerable side of me. I had to simply show a vulnerable side of me today that my church doesn't normally get to see, but they saw tears. They saw a man who continues to be baffled and confused by by something that I know exists, but after one time after another, Black men are being attacked, and I am upset. I am upset, and there were many that are on the calls that were encouraging us um, and building one another up. But this is a season and this is a time where I believe that Black men are being hunted. Black people at large are being hunted and trying to be taken out of this world. And for us to come together in a forum like this, but also to expand this forum to other people outside of us, I think there needs to be a real conversation about what's happening in our communities, what's happening to our children, what's happening to our men, our women alike. And I am upset. I am upset.
And I think that it's, if anybody is watching simultaneously while we're streaming, if you could put your devices on mute, that will allow us to cut down on the feedback. Also, for the folks that are watching us right now, if you have any questions, comments, please go ahead and add them into the Facebook or the YouTube streaming platforms, and we'll be sure to get to them. So as we're going through this time, and I was watching, and I have not been able to watch the video in its entirety, only because I don't believe in watching snuff films. I don't think that I can handle everything that is going on. However, I've been reading a lot of articles, and one thing that stuck out to me is it said that this man was on the ground and he started calling for his mama. And so when men, what does one have to be going through as a grown man to call for his mother? And I'll go to Pastor Yardley. Can you kind of talk to us about that? What type of level of pain and angst must one be experiencing to call out in that way?
It's reminiscent to me of, and in no way, shape, or form am I trying to compare Mr. Floyd to Jesus, but it's reminiscent to me when Jesus was on the cross, when he looks off the cross and he sees his mother down there. And instead of considering himself, he considers that his mother is getting ready to be without a son, and so he sends her to the arms of another young man. And so the pain in that moment was considering of what his mother would be going through without him being there anymore. And it's for a son to call for his mother is you have to be going through the most excruciating moment in the world, because a son never wants to see his mother hurt. A son never wants to see his mother in pain. His number one job in life is to always protect his mother from him, from any and everything. And so for him to have to call for in that moment to be screaming and to be yelling, mama, mama, and the other things, and I can't breathe, and all those different kind of things, and saying whatever he could to try to get his life back. And with his dying breath, it would have to be the most excruciating moment of his life, knowing in that moment that this was probably going to be it for him. He kept saying, "They're killing me. You're going to kill me," and he keeps saying these things over and over and over and over again. And for 8 minutes, his knee was on his neck, and for 2 minutes and 40 seconds or 50 seconds, he was unconscious. And knowing that happened, and if his mother is still here, I don't know, but for her saying that, and anyone who's a mother saying that would know that has to be that he was in the most excruciating pain. It may not even been as physical as it was mental and emotional and psychological in that moment. And that's really where it is. It's less physical. It's more mental, emotional, and psychological. And that's what's bothering us today, is the pain that it's not just us, but that you're putting all of our people through. You're putting all of our people through, and you won't know it unless it's your people, and you won't know it. And so no one can tell me how we feel until it happens to them on a consistent basis. They will not know what it's like for a mother to cry out for her son. and when this happens. And so I don't want to hear what they have. I don't want to hear how they really know. They can't tell me how they feel, because they've never felt this, and they won't feel it until it's them in this situation on a continual basis, being battered, being bruised, being deprived of what's natural. And right now, for what's natural for us is knowing that our boys are going to keep having to scream mama, and their boys won't.
And so I'm wondering, does it make a difference? So when I first read that he was calling for his mother, immediately I started trying to look into where his mother might be. And does it make a difference that she had passed already 2 years? So in that moment, to be calling for his mother, it just hit me a little different. Pastor Chandler, when we're talking about the things that Black men are experiencing, I know a lot of men that I've seen comments from, they've been saying, well, where is God in that? What type of things would you kind of talk to or say to a man that's asking you, where is God right now?
Okay, so 2 things. One, I appreciate what Pastor Yardley shared. I have an additional thought when it comes to why he called for his mother. When we grow up as men, our mothers bring us into the world, and in growing up, we become independent. And becoming more and more independent. Mama is always mama, but you celebrate the fact that you can take care of yourself and you don't have to go to her for everything. For a man at that particular point in his life to go back to calling for his mother, it means that the situation that he is going through has belittled him to the point that he has gone from being a grown adult to almost being a child. It means that what that officer was trying to do in dehumanize and taking away this man's freedom and taking away his sense of manhood, that he was being successful with his last breath. That man was saying, you have belittled me, you have humbled me, you have taken me from manhood to almost like being a child. I'm in need of my mother to come save me. And for a grown man to get to that point, it has to be deep. It has to be overwhelming. It has to be. It's a sign of being absolutely and totally broken. And I think that every single man who's listening right now knows what it's like to lose all of your independence, all of your power over, forget your power over other things, power over your own life. You've lost the power over your own life. And now you are begging another man for life. You are to beg a man to breathe is the most dehumanizing. To be choked to death is just shoot me first, right? But to choke me to death and for me to watch my life fade away and for me to go in 8 minutes from an independent grown man who's out there doing my business to returning to almost being childlike. It's maddening and it's crazy. So you asked the question about God. There is a text, because I had to prepare a PSA for my church that is going to be shown it's going to be shown on tomorrow. But I was looking to God for some hope and for some help. And for those who are listening today, I want you to hear what David says in Psalm 27. David says, I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. One of the issues that people have with the church is that we are always talking about heavenly things. So we talk about, don't worry, God's going to fix it. We're going to walk on streets of gold. We're going to wear white robes. We're going to get a golden crown. And listen, I want to walk on streets of gold. I want to wear a robe. I want to see that gate that's made up of one pearl. I want to see that all. But if our eyes are so fixed on the clouds that we do not see the blood that is soiling the soil that we are standing on, that's saturating the soil, that we are standing in, that our religion is useless. Now, even though our religion is useless, God is always present. I want to give you, I don't want to be long-winded, but I want to tell you what the word says. The word. Proverbs 31:8-9 says, open your mouth for the mute, for the rights of all who are destitute. Open your mouth and judge righteously. Isaiah 1:17 says, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice for the fatherless, and plead the widow's cause. How many kids are going to happen as a result of these shootings? How many more widows are going to have to plead for their husbands because their husbands died at the hand of a murderer? No, God has a word. Sometimes religion does not repeat what God says, but God has always been present. God has always been loud on this thing, and God has always been calling for justice. And I would suggest that if God is calling for justice, the church needs to do the same. We need to open up our mouths and tell people that God is not blind and he's not deaf, and he's not just preparing heaven and building mansions for us and forgetting that we're being murdered and killed and slain down here. Once again, if your eyes are on the clouds to the point that you can't see the blood that you are standing in, then your religion is useless.
And in the vein of religion being useless, talk to me about why churches have, it appears, have been silent on issues of injustice. Pastor Jaron, why do you think churches have been silent?
Well, I think mainly a lot of churches have been silent because most of the time they just want to play neutral. They want to be in the middle. They don't know who's, they don't want to seem to be leaning to either way. And a lot of times churches are, it's unfortunate, but a lot of churches are led by the idea of who's got the money, and whoever has the money and who's putting in the most money is you know, you tend to lean to make sure that they feel all right, because you don't want to lose members. And it's unfortunate that pastors, a lot of pastors kind of lead that way. And so that's why I think God is calling for, he's in this day and time, he's calling for a new, bringing up some young brothers to come up and start just having a voice and not caring, you know, just leaning on him for everything that they need and not the people. And I think what's happening is that people are having the opportunity to learn from these situations, and I think the church is going to prevail. And it seems as if we're being real silent right now, but I'm seeing a lot of new leaders. My covenant brother, Pastor Yarley, Pastor Dennis Austin, Pastor Stefan, Pastor Chandler, who I just got to meet one time, and all these other young brothers coming up. I think we're trying to open up our mouth and say something. And I think there's a new situation happening, and I think that's challenging also the elder pastors and bishops and so on and so forth to kind of step up too, because they see us like, you know, not being silent about what's going on, and I think we're going to be able to carry the remnant.
Elder Macklin, I've been seeing a lot of people in the comments on different social media sites, and they're saying, why are we continuing to try and kind of be under this white man's religion? What would you say to those folks who are saying that Christianity was given by the white man to the slaves? What would you say?
Well, to some extent, I would say they have, quote unquote, done their homework, especially when you hear about the beginning of the AME Church and several other religions that were birthed, quote unquote, from slavery. But I also take it back to the Catholic Church. When Martin Luther was nailing the 95 Theses on the doors of the chapel, that wasn't the first time he did that. The reason that it made a big stink was because what he posted in there was so big that people finally saw it. He had been posting theses on the door for months. He'd been doing that. So what do I say? I say, yeah, that's great. It is a religion that was, quote unquote, given to us. But now that we have this Bible and we can read for ourselves, it does not just become the white man's religion. This is our Bible. And I was just thinking, I said, God is coming back for his church. He's not coming back for a white man's religion or a black man's religion. God is coming back for his bride, which is the church. So it is so much larger than people trying to segregate the gospel to say white man's religion, this denomination, that denomination. God is coming back for his church. And what we are asking ourselves now is, what will this church look like when he comes back? Will we be silent in moments that matter? Will we say nothing and only appeal to those who are trying to make sure our pockets in the church looks good? Are we going to sit by and say nothing about the widows? Will we say nothing about injustice? What is this church actually going to look like? It's bigger than just white man's religion. You have the Bible. You can read for yourself. That's what made Martin Luther so amazing. He was finally making sense. And people were able to open up and read and say, wow, this is really in here. Yes, this is in here. Injustice is in the Bible. This is in here. Now we have to deal with it. So what will we as a church do with this moment? We have a moment. What are we going to do with it? Now what will the church look like? Because God's still coming back for his church.
And so when you hear or you see certain denominations never saying anything, and a lot of them are not melanated, and then you go to churches that are somehow seen as multicultural churches, and they too are silent. Why is it that we've allowed folks to basically present Jesus as a punk? Pastor Yarley, why have we allowed people to present Jesus like a punk?
Well, basically, I believe that there's a lot of people, men, women, boys, girls, children, people out there who are simply afraid of those who have quote unquote trailblazed the way for them. They have feared saying certain things and doing certain things. As Elder Macklin just shared with us about the Lord Jesus come back for the bride of the church. People are afraid to admit that basically when Jesus was a baby and his parents went and took him and hid him, they took him to Egypt to hide, which means Egypt is in Africa, which means that he had to be dark skinned to be hidden in Egypt. They also the earliest church is the Coptic church in Ethiopia, and that's black. Christianity is not a white man's religion. People don't study, and they pick up things and they put them down. And so what happens is, because we don't study, and then we're afraid many times to go against the grain, we're afraid to be revolutionaries. Then we side with people to be able to sit on their platform, to do what they do, instead of forging ahead and taking a chance. And maybe people aren't going to like you for standing up. And I would say to those who choose to be a part of those who want to not speak to us and be a part of those evangelical churches, you're afraid, and you're ashamed of who you really are. And you don't have to say black power to believe in black people, but you should speak to black issues or African American issues or Negro issues. And that's the only way. And if you can't speak to that, then you can't have my vote. I can't put money in your offering plate. At this stage, if you can't say that not just because we're not talking about all lives, if you can't say, hey, that black man's life matters, without having to qualify or quantify the statement that we know all lives, but we're talking about black people right now. And I think everyone should be able to say that without being afraid or without fearing that. Right now, we're talking about George Floyd. We're not talking about them. We're talking about us. And we can't be afraid anymore. And we have to stand up and be counted for what we really truly believe in. And it's just time out for fear, time out for being afraid. And as my daddy would say, time out for being a punk. Time out for being a sissy. You just got to stand up for something. If you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And there are so many of us who are falling for anything because we refuse to stand for the truth because we're afraid of what they may say. And as a result, let me say this, I may get in trouble. And Bishop Eddie L. Longs, Sr., his son said this: after all, who the hell are they anyway? And I'm not afraid of they, because they are nobody when it comes to truth and honesty. And so let's just be truthful. They scared, I'm not.
I hear that. I ain't scared either. I got your back. So, Pastor Cortland, do you think that the church has tried to water down this message as to not offend people, but to get them through the door?
I think some churches may have done that. I think some churches may have watered down the message of Jesus Christ. But I do definitely think that what the gospel oftentimes does is it presents the problem. And if we don't clearly make the problem one of the focal points, I know we get to hope all day long, but we have to present the problem for people to understand about the hope that we have. And so I'm reminded of Nehemiah when he heard about the news about Jerusalem. The temple was built, but the walls are still tore down. They were still in the place where they were defenseless. And right now, I think even now, I think the black man, sometimes we feel defenseless. And so after he prayed and after he fasted, he took action. He took action, and now more than ever, we need men and women of God to stand up and declare, as Pastor Yardley said, the truth. It's the truth that only liberates us. It's the truth that only pushes us forward. It's the truth that only sets us free. And as long as we keep skimming over the truth, as long as we keep cloaking the truth, the lie is going to be forever present in our lives. And so we have to see things as they are. The church, I apologize today for the whole church, to my own church. If there are people out there that's online right now, if you believe that the church is not saying anything, as my brother said earlier, there are some young men who are going to take a stand. There are some young men that are here today that are on this forum that we're going to take a stand and we're going to say something. I'm tired, and oftentimes y'all see me smiling and everything, but if you touch mine, if you mess with mine, you have to deal with me. And so now you have to deal with me. You have to deal with my face. You have to deal with my voice. And my voice means something in my community. Amen. As black men, our voices mean something in our community. And as leaders in our community, amen, we should continue to tell the truth.
Amen. And so when we're talking, a lot of times when churches or people who attend churches start to stand up and they start to request that their church get involved with certain things, a lot of times you hear this thing about separation of church and state, until it's time for the politicians to come through and invade your pulpit to get access to your people. So with this perceived thing of separation between church and state, let's start talking about, what are we going to do? What solutions are we going to, what things are we going to start suggesting so that we can get involved, not when something happens, but so that we have a prolonged connection with our communities and that they see us visibly? What type of things do you think we should be doing right now to kind of organize ourselves? And I'll start with Pastor Yardley. You look like you want to talk to me, so I'm going to talk to you.
Well, I think that first thing that we should do, like Pastor Chandler, my buddy, who we've been trying to get together for the last 10 years and ain't did it yet. But anyway, like Pastor Chandler, I was seeking the Lord and trying to figure out myself what to say and what to do and how to minister and how to share with people. And I was reminded in the Second Chronicles, I believe it's chapter 20, around verse 12, when Jehoshaphat made this statement, and he said something to the effect of, he said, the truth is, and I'm paraphrasing, we really don't know what to do, but our eyes are on God. He said, our eyes are on you, Lord. And I think one of the first things we can do when we share with you in our community is tell people, right, the truth is, we don't have all the answers. Amen. God does, but we don't. And so I think that because people, they come running, and many times we mislead and misguide people by attempting to always have the answers, attempting to always have the word, attempting to always know the direction that we're going in. The first thing that we can say is, hey, we don't have all the answers. That's the first thing. God knows, but we don't know. The second thing we can do is first, no, not we don't have all the answers. The second thing we can do is not be afraid to listen to what the people are saying, and then know where what our lane is. And if our lane isn't marching, be able to say, okay, if you don't march, what can you do? If you don't picket, what can you do? If you don't post on Facebook, what can you do? Begin to listen and find out from people what their availability is, what they can do, because it's not only right what we do. This platform is not the only platform that we can use. Talking doesn't do it all. Somebody out there in Sacramento is getting ready to march, or they're already marching right now. And then somebody has to organize the march. Someone has to be somewhere to provide a safe haven. So if the police start going crazy, what church can they run to? We have to begin, or where can they go? Who has the food available for them who are out there marching? We have to begin to come together and find out and find out from people, and not just sit in forums with the quote unquote leaders and talk to them, because 99% of the time the leaders don't know, because the leaders aren't out there with the people. And so we have to talk to the people to find out what they need, what they are feeling. Because when are the preacher's going to organize? Who cares if we're not talking to the people to find out what the people need? What do the people want? And so we don't need to set up a forum. Let's start calling people. Let's start getting our churches, invite people to church, not to put in an offering, not to get saved, but what do you guys need? How can we serve you? And then that can begin to speak to us of what we should really do. But if we're not talking to people, if we're not asking our people, one more thing, if we're not talking to our people about how they feel about COVID-19 and when they want to come back to church, when we get back, we'll be the only ones there. But we need to ask our people how they feel and what they want, and then that will help us figure out how to what to give, what to offer, how to come together. But us just thinking we don't know everything and coming together, that's I believe, my personal theory, why we may be in some of the shape that we're in, because we think we know everything and we don't have all the wisdom. There are smarter people out there than the average pastor, way smarter people out there. And we need to begin to talk to them and find out from them. And then we can put our wisdom with their wisdom, and we can begin to create some amazing ways to really help and bless people, and not just sit around and have these useless conversations. I don't want to hear what another pastoral forum from Bishop T.D. Jakes and those guys have to say. My church is small. His church is big. I need some little church pastors to come with me, and let's have some conversations. And so if the more we talk to regular people and find out how regular people feel, then we can really come up with what we can really do to really serve people. Because Jesus hung out with people. That's how he was able to serve people, because he knew what they wanted. And so that they said they were hungry, and so he fed them. Jesus didn't just just show up with food. When they said, hey, we're hungry, that's when he fed them. And sometimes we have good stuff, but that's not what they really need. And so I'll be quiet.
No, don't be quiet. Pastor Chandler, what do you think? What are some things we can do? I see Miss Angeli, I don't know if it's Angelia or Angela Jones. She says the pastors of Sacramento should organize a press conference of some sort. Is that along the lines of what you were thinking, or what do you think we should be doing at this point, sir?
All right, so I'm going with. Let me see which one.
Other way. There you go.
That guy. So I'm going to tell you my experience when I came to Sacramento was just after Stephon Clark shooting. After the shooting, I went to a meeting. It was at Pastor Porter's church. And while we were there at the church, they said that they were going to have a protest. So I'm a good old suburban boy. I don't know nothing about no protests. I don't know. I'm from Toronto. I don't know nothing about no streets. Martin Luther King is a legend, but I wasn't there. I'd never walked the streets before. I went to a coffee shop and I was preparing my sermon for the next day, because our worship is on Saturday morning. And I heard the Holy Spirit saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, what do you mean? I got to prepare a sermon. We got to preach tomorrow. He's like, the people are hurting and the people are downtown at a protest and you're preparing a sermon. The sermon is downtown with the people. So I got up, packed up my bags, went downtown, didn't know what to do. Didn't know. I mean, when I say I was green, I was greener than green. I was just a bud, right? I go down there. And when I get down there, I see Pastor Kevin. I see Ryan. Ryan McClendon is down there. Les is down there. And I don't know what to do. I mean, brothers, like, I'm lost in the sauce. I don't know what to do. I just want to stand on a hill real far away, right? And just look. Les saw me, he said, we need you. And he grabbed my hand. I'm like, dude, if you don't let go of my hand, because I'm going home today. I'm not dying in these streets. He grabbed my hand. We go down there. And man, all of a sudden, I'm with the people. I am feeling the people. I am understanding the pain of the people. Listen, if you are watching what's happening in Minnesota and you're seeing buildings being burned and glass, I'm not saying it's right, but until you are there, you don't fully understand. Yo, when this dude says we're going to shut down Golden One Arena and we shutting down the game, I'm like, you're going to do what? You crazy. We go up there, man. They form a barrier around the arena, and there was this young man. Man, I'll never forget it. There was this young man who saw a white security officer and walked up to him and said to him, "Do you care that Stephon Clark died?" And the white security officer said, "I don't care about that at all." And I saw the guy pull back to punch him in the face, and I grabbed his hand. And I said, I couldn't think about anything to say. I said, "Young lion." And he said, "Yes." I said, "Do you have children at home?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Do you plan to see your children and put them to bed tonight?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "I want to help you put your kids to bed tonight." And he said to that security guard, "If these pastors were not here, I would have punched you in the face." But it's not just for our black brothers either. There was this crazy white dude who was there, and he had a sign. It was "Hate the criminals, love the cops." We walked up to him, and we said, "Brother, this is not the place for that sign. You're going to get yourself in trouble." He said, "I don't care, I don't care." Before he was finished, before he got punched, man, this punch came from I thought I was watching Mission Impossible on TV. This guy got socked so hard. He was white. Blood spewing everywhere. And pastors, first time in my life, I am kneeling. I like, "Ben, what are we supposed to do?" We kneel, black men, kneeling around a counter protester to make sure that he gets home. There's a presence that we can have as pastors. And yes, maybe we call a press conference, maybe, but to be with the people and to feel the people's pain and to understand the people, and to show everyone everywhere that I'm not just the pastor of black people. I pastor black people. I'm the pastor of everyone. Anyone who's oppressed is a part of my church and is a part of my responsibility. I think that when we do that, the people look at the church and see the church and say, wow, that's what the church is about. The final thing, I talked too long. A police officer, Ben was standing behind some of the police officers that day and heard a police officer say, "Man, I hear that there's some crazy pastors down here with the crowd." And the guy said, "Yes." And the police officer said, "Where are our pastors? Why are our pastors not down here standing with us?" Everybody wants their pastor to be present. White, black, Indian, Chinese, doesn't matter. And when we do that, we make a change, because when we come, we bring the presence of God, we bring the presence of the church to where people are, rather than calling people to where the church is.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Love it.
Great.
Agree 100%. You have your hands up. Were you going to say something, or you was just agreeing?
I'm just shouting.
Oh, okay. All right. And I'm gonna try to get to everybody. I know we're running out of time, but I want to make sure that we get a couple more thoughts in terms of the things that we should be doing to kind of prepare ourselves for where we're going next with all these injustices happening. What is our responsibility as people of the community? Because we're going to be more present. What should we be doing? And we'll go to Pastor Cortland really quickly. What should we be doing?
Amen. Real quickly, and I heard this last night, and I took it as my own. It's educate, and then agitate, and then legislate. Amen. If we don't know, if we don't have an understanding, how can we agitate a system that we don't understand?
Yep. Yep.
And get legislation. I thank God. Today I was able to be on the call with Selena and Lorene today, and I was being educated on how bills are being passed or agendas are being pushed. And if we don't know those things, it's going to be hard for us to fight effectively.
Pastor Jaron, what should we be doing?
Actually, I agree with Pastor Yarley and Pastor Chandler. I think that the best way to push our Jesus initiative is to get on the front line with the people, find out what they need, and try to source their need first, and then we'll be able to show the love of Jesus and show. I like how when Pastor Chandler was talking about that situation at the Golden One Center, when you're down there and you're able to put the things that you preach about in action, I just believe that you become more effective. And you know, my total goal is always to try to be a witness for Christ, no matter what. I'm just sold out for him in that regard, because I used to be sold out another way. And so now, because I'm sold out for Christ, I'm just always trying to figure out a way to show the love of Christ to other people and to show them that there's always another way. And I think the best way to do that is to meet people where they are. So I agree with the brothers. What should we do? We should get out there, find out what the people need, meet them where they are, and then let them see Christ in us. Let them see Christ in us and say, I don't know how you're able to have that restraint. I've been teaching a class. We're teaching our people about the Beatitudes, and we went through blessed are the blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are they that mourn. The third one went through the third one. We talked about how you know Christ is meekness does not mean weakness, and so we have to show the love of Christ. We have to show who Jesus is and how he was able to have power under control. And so we need to be able to do that, and the only way to do that is to get out there on the front line. That's what I believe.
Dr. Macklin, to you, what do you think?
I'm going to have to agree with everything that has been said before. With what Pastor Chandler was saying, when the cops were asking, where are our pastors? That's simply what the world is asking for. You know, a pastor should smell like sheep. I should not come to church and my pastor has no clue about what's going on. I need to feel what my people feel. I need to hear what my people are hearing. Otherwise, I'm immediately disconnected from connecting with my people. I mean, to say nothing is to literally lose your audience. You don't know your audience if you're not speaking, if you're not reaching. You have no clue what's going on if you are not reaching out to the single mothers who have sons in your church. They are hurting from a completely different angle. We had a Zoom with our young adults last night. And of course, we spoke about what happened. And I unmuted the line, which I did not do, but I felt led to do it by the Spirit of God. And a young lady who has 5 black sons came on crying. She said, I pray to God that my sons come home every single night. That is how you learn how to smell like your sheep. What is going on in your mind? How do you go to sleep at night? I go to sleep praying that my black daughters come home at night. I have to feel what my people feel. This is going to hurt. None of this should feel good. This should agitate us to some place that says, God, you have got to give me the answer for all of this. What am I? Romans 6:1. What shall we say then? People are asking, what do we have to say? What does the word of God have to say? Romans 8. What do we say to these things? All of these things, what do we say? The people are looking and listening to hear what we have to say.
Right.
We are here to cover. We are here to protect. But then we're also here to make sure that people know there is still a God in heaven.
Amen.
And God has still allowed this to happen. And it is going to be the biggest tragedy of life if all of this is going on and no one is pointed back to Christ. That is the tragedy. It is, of course, a tragedy that this man has been killed and others who look like me and you will be killed. But the worst tragedy, the worst part about all of this is that some people will think there is an end-all solution that will fix it instantly. There is no solution that fixes it instantly. But if you are not turning yourself back to Christ and asking him, God, how do you help me in this season? If you ask God, God, where are you in this? Then you've already lost. Don't miss the sign. This is a sign pointing us back to God. This is the hand of God sending him right here. God, I see your hand allowing this atrocity to happen, but yet, God, I still see you in all of this. I don't want to preach, but pastors have to reach people where they are. And if we're not down there, if people don't see us actively engaged in speaking truth to power, speaking truth to the people who give us money, I don't want to get in trouble. Speaking truth to the people who we need things for on the city level. Speaking truth to those people who literally beg us for all these other things. I understand. We've got some big deals cooking. But if those people who have the power aren't speaking, they should hear from those who seemingly have the power with their people. We got to stay true.
I hear you. I hear you. So we have about 4.5 minutes left, and I just want to ask you guys each individually, and you can give me a short answer. What can we do to support you as you try to support the people? What can women around you do to hold you up and keep you in good spirits? Pastor Jaron?
Well, I think you can just keep praying for the brothers, because we definitely need that. And just know that we don't know all the answers, even though we're the leaders. We struggle. I mean, a lot of us, I'm a rookie pastor, okay? And I started pastoring right in the pandemic. I was telling my covenant brothers that the other day. So I'm like, yo, what am I supposed to do? And even with leading in the pandemic, also leading with these situations that we have going on with our Black men, we just want to make the right decision. So we ask the sisters to just keep praying for us. And, if we make a wrong decision, still keep supporting us, because our hearts are in the right spot, and the Lord's going to lead us to do the right thing.
Pastor Cortland.
I agree with prayer. It's definitely, it can do what words oftentimes can't not do. But I got a text today while we were talking, and this young lady said, "Are you okay?" And right there, during that text, I immediately looked down at it, and I began to put my shoulders back a little bit. And then all she said was, "I love you." That's all she said. "I love you." That pushes us. That encourages us. Those words of affirmation, those words of encouragement, it builds us up. And so to do that, it's great support for us.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Pastor Yardley, what can we do to support you?
I would say mama, keep being mama. Wife, keep being wife. Sister, keep being sister. Daughter, keep being daughter. I think our women, specifically African-American women, are the most amazing beings that God ever created. And you just keep operating in your perfect space of who you are in the moment. And we'll get what we're supposed to get. Because as long as we do what we're supposed to do and keep on being what God called us to be, then you're where you are. And so if we keep operating in what I call our oil, whether we march, whether we preach, or whatever it is, as long as we operate there, then you all will be everything that God has called you to be, which is exactly what we need. So just simply keep being the perfect you, and we're gonna be just fine.
Pastor Chandler.
I think how we can be supported is I need to understand that every single Black man was under the knee of that officer. All of us. All of our necks were there. We felt ourselves there. So when you see us walking around in the fog, touch us, because our necks are still under his knee. And we need your help. So there's a text that I want to give, and it's a text that I've chosen. I want to speak it over my kids, but I need somebody to speak it over me. You ready? It's a powerful thing.
Yes, sir.
118 verse 17 says, I shall not die, but I will live. I will live to declare the works of the Lord. I shall not die. You, brothers, shall not die. You will live. My brother, your son, when you have your son shall not die. Your son shall live. So you touch your wife's womb and you speak that over your wife. You speak that over your children. You speak that over your sons and your daughters. And we need people to speak that over us, to look us in the eyes and realize that our necks are still under that man's knee, and to speak to us and tell us we shall not die. We'll live.
Elder Macklin.
I wanted to thank you again for allowing us to be on this line tonight. I truly do believe that somebody's going to watch this and leave changed, not like they're in church, but they will leave changed and leave better because of all the great things that have been said from my brothers. And I'd like to say I'm the lowest on the totem pole here, but I'm gaining so much from being here with all my brothers here. And as you mentioned when you first started the call, you said you won't know what it's like to be a Black man. I had a good friend of mine who owns a production company. He's a Jewish guy, white guy. And he called me and he said, hey man, let me tell you what I just heard on a call. And he heard a white lady who was talking, and she said, I've been pulled over a couple of times since I've been out in COVID-19. Now I know what it feels like to be Black. And he said, what do you think about what that woman had to say? And I told him, I said, brother, I would like to tell her off, but that won't do any good. She won't learn anything from that. So I told him about an experiment that I saw on TV where these men were trying to see what it felt like to have a child. So they were hooked up to these STEM machines, and they had them hooked up to their body, their growing area, and they tried to turn the machine up as high as they could to simulate the muscles of having a child. And a guy got up off the machine at the end and walked over to a woman and hugged her and said, now I know what you feel. And the woman said, you will never, ever know what it feels like to be me. I would ask in this moment that as we go home and go to sleep, I would ask that you would continue to love us. You know, we don't have the answers. We don't know the answers. Of course, we know who the answer is, but we don't know the immediate answer right now. We're still human, frail. Things will be done wrong, but love us. The man was calling for his mother because no one loved him like his mother.
That's a lot. And so before we wrap up, I did see a comment in the chat, and she asked, what do we do from here? How are we going to organize? It says, will the pastors on the panel be willing to get it going? What I will say is BSBA can serve as the vehicle to get that going. I will volunteer myself and my sister to be the respondents for any pastors that want to get it going, that want to organize, that want to figure out, one, how bills become laws, how legislation is passed, who's doing what. If you want to get involved at the school board level, I am your girl because I stay on their necks. So I will offer myself and my sister and BSBA to serve as the vehicle for that. So if you're interested in becoming a member of BSBA, you can go to www.bsba-ca.org. And I just wanted to say really quickly, a lot of times as mothers, as wives, as sisters, cousins, you know, I'm one of the ones, I want to jump in front of y'all. I want to be like the Dora Milaje on Black Panther. I'm ready to go shave my head and get my spear and start standing in front of y'all to give you some reprieve. But I don't know how. I'm not going to shave my head because, you know, the curls is banging. I'm having a really great hair day today. However, what I will say is that there are a lot of women out there like me who are like-minded, who know that you all need a little extra support. And so we're going to go ahead and volunteer ourselves to be that for you. But I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to come and talk to me yet again. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for being the beautiful Black men that I know you are. You shall not die. You are going to live and you're going to change some stuff, as well as those who are watching. You shall not die. I don't know how many men are watching, but I'm going to just go ahead and speak that. So on behalf of BSBA and my wonderful panel of these beautiful Black men, we say thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on BSBA's Facebook page. Join in, stay connected. God bless y'all.